everybody, and welcome again to the Skillwork Forum, where, as always, I'm Tim Raglin, joined here with my partner in crime, so to speak, Brett Elliott. We're with Skillwork, and as you guys know, we get together on this podcast and talk about issues, trends, kind of emerging topics all around the skilled trades industry, and we're really trying to get together and bring thought leaders into this space. Along those lines, today, we are really fortunate to have a special guest join us today, Mr. Mike Johnson. Mike is the COO and Executive Vice President for Manufacturing for the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. So it's one of our great Midwestern cities. As many of you know, our company is headquartered here in Nebraska, so near and dear to us. Mike has a focus on Nebraska, but also regional and even national, as a thought leader in this space. And Mike, thank you for joining us here on the Skillwork Forum. We look forward to talking to you about some of these topics today.
Thank you, Tim. Brett, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a privilege to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Before I throw some questions over to Brett here to get things going, so tell us a little bit about this role. Is it unique to Nebraska, this focus on manufacturing, and a little bit about what you do there, and maybe the state chamber at this level and other levels? Educate us a little bit about that.
Yeah, to kind of set the landscape a little bit, I work here at the State Chamber of Commerce. This organization's been around for, I think we're at 112, 113 years, something like that. The State Chamber of Commerce, so we're a business funded organization. We're not state government. We're not funded by state government. We're funded wholly by our members who appreciate what we do for business statewide. So our reach is the entire state of Nebraska, from Scottsbluff to Omaha and everywhere in between. We are the place where business leaders gather to make Nebraska the best place to own, operate, and grow a business, as you gentlemen well know. Our organization started actually as the Manufacturing Association over 100 years ago, and naturally, organically, through the course of business and government relations, other business sectors were added on. And so now, like many state chambers of commerce, we represent all business. And I would say that our main value proposition is, we do events, we do networking with business leaders across the state, but maybe it's the way my mind works. But I believe that our number one value proposition is that we are the lobby voice of business for the state legislature up the street here. So we have a lobby team. We have a really well functioning machine when it comes to business leaders bringing their issues forward to us. We will sometimes write legislation. And other times we'll simply weigh in on legislation that's been introduced by others. So the name of our game is to make Nebraska the most business-friendly state in the union. My role here, if you can kind of put your headspace in doing that, we heard cats, the thing's different from every day and every year. It's a dynamic environment. As COO, I just do my best to support our entire staff, whether it's our events team or our lobby team, membership development, you name it. We're just trying to do the best that we can for our members with that mindset in mind. And I'll just say one more thing. You got to stop me from getting on tangents here, Tim, but I also lead with my job title being, I wear two hats here. I serve as our chief operating officer, and I also lead what we refer to as our manufacturing alliance. That is, again, sort of the place specifically for the manufacturing industry to lean in on what's important to the manufacturers right now. What do they need? Certainly we'll have events like you and I met each other at one in May in Columbus with an Industry 4.0 kind of focus on that day. So it's partly educating our members. It's partly developing memberships and networking. But anyway, really just serving as the go-to place for manufacturers to get engaged.
Well, we'll kind of lean into that because manufacturing is pretty much our sweet spot. And you've got a little bit of a background in manufacturing, as does Brett, my partner here as well. Kind of food and manufacturing background. Yeah, so we both kind of come out of that invest space. So I spent 30 years. I made bacon, and as I understand it, you made beer. So bacon and beer, it doesn't get a whole lot better than. I wonder, I'll let you guys. So what is the maybe unpack that a little bit? So you came out of the manufacturing industry, specific food and beverage. We do a lot in that space because of my background. Just it's a space that we understand there's a huge need for skilled trades, and we basically, augment maintenance teams is what we do. So what was the connection to, the obvious connection, you got a manufacturing background, so you can talk the talk, but kind of what was the transition?
Yeah, just not to dig too much into life story of me, but I'll tell a little bit about it. I was happily working in Anheuser-Busch. I was the assistant brewmaster at the St. Louis brewery. There were Clydesdales out in my office. I was tasting beer in the afternoon. I was a single guy with a dog. I was living the dream. And wouldn't you know it, I fell in love with a nice young lady. We got married, and she was recruited to Omaha for her career in the pursuit of her career. So we were just kind of faced with her dream job in the form of an offer letter and mine in hand, and we kind of took a leap of faith and we moved to Omaha. I continued to work for Anheuser-Busch remotely. Before COVID made working remote cool, I was teaching my colleagues how to use Zoom. And I was operating breweries outside of from a spare bedroom in our house. And all was well in the world, but I was traveling a lot. We had a baby coming. Just kind of one thing led to another. And through, how relationships work, I met the president of the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce kind of casually. And we got to talking. He said, I really want to do something more with manufacturers and here in Nebraska. And I thought, man, this sounds like a really fun way to do something for my local community, for my local area with my background, and just deciding to lean in hard. So I did a little bit of consulting with the chamber part-time, and then kind of turned this manufacturing alliance into a thing, combined that with COO to make a full-time position make sense. And that's sort of the genesis of it. But, it just became, it was a little bit of a wish and a prayer and a hope and we'll see if this is the right thing. But man, I'm really glad we did it. It's been so much fun to learn about business in Nebraska, about government affairs, about all of the sticky, complicated squishiness that goes along with. I know what we're going to get into is you're going to ask me what's the number one issue for manufacturers, and I'm going to tell you it's workforce. And so peeling back that onion is complicated and messy, and that's the kind of stuff I love digging my hands into. So that's what got me on board here.
Yeah, that forum you talked about, it's regional and your focus is Nebraska, but really these same conversations can be had in any number of states across the country.
Yeah.
Or common across all states. And one of the first things you mentioned there is that in talking to a bunch of manufacturers primarily, you said the first issue we have to address is image. We have an image problem in terms of attracting talent and getting the next generation to want to come to work in our factories and our facilities. So what do you mean by that? I mean, I think it's intuitive, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tim. And I apologize if I stole your thunder from the segue question of what's the main issue for the manufacturers. But let's paint out there.
It's the least kept secret on the podcast.
It is
a staffing issue.
It is the least kept. And I'll even tell you, so it's almost 2:00 now. At noon today, I was on a call with the National Association of Manufacturers and their chief economist, who presented a study on workforce, recruiting workforce. And it doesn't matter what state you're, maybe it does matter. I don't know if Texas is dealing with the same issues because of the population swells they've had, or there are maybe a couple, 2-3 states that maybe don't deal with the issue as acutely, but that's few and far between. 95% of the region, the states are dealing with this workforce issue. Philosophically, I think that COVID had a lot of people at home. We lost a lot of baby boomers in a more accelerated fashion than we would have otherwise from the workforce. Birth rates are the biggest issue going, and it's just simply a matter of there aren't people to fill the jobs. And so in getting after this, and I'm an engineer by background, right? So you just try to start to Pareto the solution. If we're going to engage with the young people, I'll give you a couple stats, or just to try to guide the point here. I think it's 30% of the high school graduates in 6 years are achieving a 4-year degree or college degree. So even 2-year. So 70% are not achieving that formal education. And so it's really a fact of getting at how can we engage this group of people that are graduating high school. And I wish I had the numbers off the top of my head, but going into a 4-year college and a large fraction not graduating. right? And not only not graduating, but not leaving with a skill set that's a marketable skill set. So how can we help these people? And, we don't live in a socialistic environment where we make people do things, thank God. But how can we inspire people who are going to 4-year college without inspiration, without a plan? How can we get them to take a skilled trade, for instance? How can we have them see that without as much time invested, without as much debt invested, how can they can unlock a lot of really great compensation and really great careers, which is kind of where you guys. But I'm thinking about it more inspiration based on how can we get after those people. So your question back to me of is it an image issue? I think it gets down to if there aren't a whole lot of high school students who are just clamoring for, man, I can't wait to walk across the stage and get the job in a manufacturing facility. That just doesn't have the sexiness that some of these other career pursuits do. So when I say it's an image issue, I really want to get down to making it cool again. I was in a car this morning, so I dropped off my car at a car dealership to had an oil change. Okay. And they gave me a ride to work. And the driver and he came from the automotive technology background. He was singing the same song. And it's so prevalent. You go, whether it's to have your car worked on or fill a role in a manufacturing facility, the people just aren't there with those skills. We have to pull them out of other industries and then train them. So I just want to inspire the student. I want to inspire the students. And I think the first crack at it is just changing the image and more so illuminating what manufacturing today really looks like. It doesn't look like it did 30 years ago or 60 years ago.
Yeah. So we talked about that a lot, Brett. It's a cultural issue. It's many of us, are all we talk about is our kids that graduate or grandkids that what colleges are going to. So, I mean, it is an image issue, but it's interesting that sounded like statistics and, you were going off the top of your head, but 70% of those just go into a 4-year school, don't finish. So what are they doing? What are the 70% doing? Are those the ones that aren't looking for work now and disenfranchised? Well, I think it is. I think it's, you're right, Mike. We, for a variety of reasons, obviously we're very close to this space and, we started Skillwork because we recognize the issue that was coming with the baby boomers and all the other things and type of thing. But you're right. I think it's a variety of image issues. We talk about it on this podcast lots of times, 30 years ago, we put in every school, work smart, not hard. And we devalued working hard and we devalued working with your hands and those kinds of things. So you're right. You're got to change the image. We say it all the time and you're preaching the same thing is we got to stop asking kids, where are you going to school? And we need to be asking them, why are you going to school? Why are you going there? Because if you don't, because 70% of them are not going to come out the other side in a better situation. And so, together, so what at the state level from your guys, from say, maybe a training or all the way back to the high school level, obviously we're in the state, we're here, so we kind of know too, here in Omaha, we've got Metro Community College, you got dual enrollment opportunities, but a lot of schools, really good high schools in town take very little advantage of it. And so, I mean, what are we doing there?
It's not. Oh, what a great question. I'll answer your question this way in that here at the Chamber of Commerce, we see this workforce issue and we kind of see it with solving it in a few different ways. I'll celebrate a success that we had last year. And so actually in May, Tim, when you and I were speaking to each other, it was a pie in the oven. It wasn't fully baked yet, but the deal was, here at the Chamber of Commerce, I remember speaking with the governor when he was still candidate filling, up in his office in Columbus and pitching this very, very neat to get after skilled work. And we spoke with him about continuing, career and technical education, those training programs, CTE funding, referred to as Perkins funding, which is a federal program that gives states money. We were the only state in the union that wasn't matching federal funds for career and technical education in high schools and in community colleges, for instance. These are things like, and it's not just a specific thing, but it's Future Business Leaders of America, it's FFA, it's Skills USA, and a whole number of other even healthcare related career and technical education programs that are available in high schools and colleges. So we worked with the governor's office really closely to get now a 50% match of federal funds into the education system. So there's sort of like one legislatively oriented lever we could pull. Thankfully, I don't get to just holistically make those decisions. We got to go through the whole process, but that was a major success here in Nebraska, was increasing the amount of funding that high schools get for career and technical education by 50%. And there are also minimums by school. So certain school districts aren't getting left out. That's a major win. You talk about image, you talk about reaching those high school students. I think that was a major success that we gotta really champion.
Yeah, I was thinking about I was actually going to ask you about that CTE funding. So I'm glad to see this coming about. I mean, that's almost like, why wouldn't you match your employer's 401k benefit? That doesn't make much sense. So I'm glad we're doing that here. We really need it. And, continuing to speak into that, and from a cultural perspective about the value of skilled trades. We do a lot about that, educating people out there. But I keep going back to that statistic of 7 out of 10 that are in college don't finish and are going to pursue a career down that path. Even if we would, seems like we owe it to that generation to be honest with them about that, instead of continuing to push that as an agenda that seems to be just more focused on keeping the momentum going behind the business of college versus what's best for our future and our students.
Yeah. And I think I'll back up. I think it's 30% of the high school graduates end up with a degree. Sort of never enter 4-year college, right? They choose to go into other avenues. And so they'd be included in that. How do you change it? Oh gosh, that's a tough one, right? I agree with what Brett said. Asking them why you're going to school, what you're going to school for, and not where. I think that's a great point. Because when you say the where are you going to college? It really gets after the fun culture aspect of college, rather than maybe wow, you chose this path to do this thing, and seeing the payback on it. I think information tells a lot. To be honest, when I was in high school, nobody was talking to me about payback periods on education, right? I was just going after as many scholarships as I could get to reduce the cost. But I didn't really see how long it would take me to pay back. I didn't see the other options. I was just sort of like any other student my age, in the cattle call, going off to 4 years school. And I think that it's arming those high school students with information. You might be 16 or 17 years old. At that point, you're starting to feel the itch of what it is that you want to do. And you're old enough to at least get a good grasp on the math and on the time and on the investment for both time and money. And the other thing that I try to focus on a lot, coming with it, it's funny, we're going to be preaching to each other's choirs here a little bit.
Yeah.
When the other chorus members are around, the other thing we say to each other is that, everybody talks about that starting salary, that starting wage, right? I want to crack that open a little bit to the high school students, and that, you might be talking about $28 an hour right off the bat, which isn't bad. But the other side of the coin is after you're in, and let me just quote $20 an hour as an example figure, you get some extra skills and now it becomes 24 and then it becomes 30. And then before you know it, man, you're into some really rewarding wages at a really fast timeline that, you're making this, you went to 2-year school, and in less than 2 years, you're probably a couple rungs up that wage ladder. But we always focus on what's the starting wage? What's the starting wage? And I really want people to get past that starting wage. I want people to start to think about what that ladder looks like. And I'll say one more thing. When I was at Anheuser-Busch, we're a massive global company, right? And I really felt like, and I would say this to the engineers, I would hire food scientists, I'd hire out of college. I would tell them that, you can really do anything you want at this company. You're in here, you want to go into sales, I'll help you get into sales. You want to go into marketing, I'll help you get into marketing. Human resources, you name it. You can go anywhere, you can do anything. It's just a matter of what the development plan looks like to get there. You want to be a brewmaster, let's put you on that track. You want to be the leader of packaging, we'll put you on that track. But it's just the track looks a little different. I want to focus those who are even considering getting into the manufacturing field. You can go anywhere and do anything you want inside that field. It's so vast and varied. If you want to be repairing machines, repair machines. You want to be operating, operate. You want to get into even sales or HR or accounting or leadership. It's not all about dollars. The type of life looks different and the type of daily work looks different. I just really believe that industry sector has a lot of staying power, and it's just a really fun thing to talk about. But at surface value, at face image, nobody sees the depth and the complexity and the growth opportunities that exist. So to me, one-on-one, it's about telling that story. How do you do it to 50,000 students at any given time? That's the harder piece.
And it's great to see that, at least here locally, there's starting to be a little bit more attention into this and recognizing it's not going to be an overnight solution. And we really appreciate the time you gave us today, Mike. Good discussion. A lot for us to think about. Hope to see you again on the Skillwork Forum in the near future. Have a great day.